Hi, Facebook and YouTube. We are live. I'm going to get Instagram set up and then we will get started. Hi, Instagram. Thank you so much for coming. Today we are talking about mindset tips for writers. So we're going to go over 5 different tips that I wrote down. There are so many others, but we're just going to go over 5 today so that you can have just kind of a brief overview of how to work through the mindset as a writer and how to help get past those blocks that are holding you back. So probably going to be kind of quick today, but we're going to talk about that. So the first tip that I have to help with your mindset as a writer is to listen to your intuition. Now, this can be tricky. Now, let me preface this way. You do need to listen to your head knowledge while you're writing as well. It's just, you have to use both. But in today's society, we are trained to do that. We are used to relying on our brain power and our knowledge and our skill set to guide what we're doing. And in the process, we lose track of listening to our truest selves, to our intuition, to our gut, to the things that will guide us toward our aligned purpose. So listen to your intuition, really cultivate that. The best way that I know to cultivate listening to your intuition is through meditation. Now, this can be achieved through like breath work and other things like this, just being quiet, focusing on your breath, things like that. There's tons of different ways to meditate or just kind of get quiet and tap into your intuition. But the best way I know is just to meditate. So the one I most commonly use is where I use a guided meditation where it just takes me through focusing on my breath. So it's basically where you just breathe deeply, you focus on your breath, you clear your mind. If thoughts come through, you acknowledge them with grace and peace, and then you let them go instead of trying to fight them or focusing on. It's really just a good way for you to calm your mind down, to really start listening to that inner voice, because your inner voice is a lot quieter than your head and external voices. So we really need to tap into that and listen to that. So that's part of what I like to teach and like to do, is to teach you how to tap into that intuition while you're writing. It's one of my favorite ways to write, and it's really the only way I know how to write now, now that I tackled that. So that's the number 1. Number 2 is to let go of limiting beliefs. So we all have beliefs about who we are, how we present ourselves to the world, and how the world works, and probably other things. But for the most part, we believe things about ourselves, and they may not always be true. So, well, let me put it this way. They may not always be helpful because sometimes the thoughts we think about ourselves, the things we believe about ourselves, the beliefs that we have actually do come true. We manifest those beliefs if we believe them strongly enough and if we internalize them. So if we believe that we are not good enough, we are going to act in accordance with that, and we will not do things that are good enough, if that makes sense. That, however, is not true because it does not serve us. First of all, it's not true because you are good enough. No matter what you do, just intrinsically as a human, because you woke up today, because you were born, you are good enough. You're also worthy. Lots of other mantras. But in order to rewrite those limiting beliefs that we have, one way, and I just mentioned it, is through mantras. So discovering what those limiting beliefs are, and that can be a long process that I'm not going to go through today, but discovering what those limiting beliefs are. Maybe you're not writing your book because you don't feel good enough. Maybe this shows up as imposter syndrome, or you maybe set aside time to write and then you never actually write. Maybe you allow yourself to be distracted or spend time scrolling on Instagram or on Facebook or watching videos on YouTube, and you don't actually do the writing that you really want to do. So there's a lot of limiting beliefs that could be there. There's fear of success and fear of failure and imposter syndrome, perfectionism, all of these different things that could really be holding you back from finishing your book. So if you would like some more help in getting into some writer mantras, I do have a free resource for you. It's called the Writer Affirmations ebook. It is in the link in my bio in Instagram. I will also put it, if you're watching the replay on Instagram on IGTV, I will put it in the description. And then it's also in the description on Facebook and YouTube as well. So it's a free ebook. It is several mantras made specifically for writers to help you work through those limiting beliefs that are holding you back. Because if you can rewrite those beliefs, which are what mantras are for, and I explain how you use those in the book, if you rewrite those beliefs, then you can start acting in accordance for your new beliefs, the beliefs that actually do help you and do serve you. Now, those limiting beliefs are not bad. We are not here to be hard on ourselves because we have those beliefs. That is not helpful at all either. It's merely an acknowledgement of that we have taken those beliefs that sometimes it's what society has told us or what our parents have told us or what, your bully in the 3rd grade told you. And we've internalized those until we believe them for ourselves. If they do not serve you, if they're holding you back from accomplishing what you want, you can rewrite them. Our brain, it has the ability to rewrite those beliefs, and that's what mantras are for. So I hope you check out that free book. I'll mention it again at the end, and just in case. But Writer Affirmations ebook, it's super helpful for help rewriting those limiting beliefs. And I'm going to pause right here and let you know that if you have any questions about mindset, or if there's anything you want to know about this process or about mantras or meditation or anything, I would be happy to help. So leave me a comment. I am monitoring comments, and I would love to chat with you and just help you out while we're doing this training. I can answer questions. Okay, so number 3 is to do it scared. So no matter what you are doing, so we talked about mantras, we talked about limiting beliefs. There may be limiting beliefs that are holding you back. However, while you're working on those, while you are trying to rewrite those beliefs so that you can act in accordance with your new beliefs, the helpful beliefs, and you can come into full alignment with your purpose and what you're meant to do. And for you, it's probably writing a book. That's probably why you're here. But in that process, there will be a considerable amount of fear. And you will never really get rid of fear. You're never going to never be afraid to fill in the blank, whatever it is. Maybe you put yourself out there and that's super scary. Maybe, hi, thanks for joining. Maybe you are scared just to write it down in the first place. Maybe you're worried about what's going to come out. Maybe you have a fear of your parents reading what you write, or someone judging you for what you write, or you have a fear of a bad review or something. So whatever those fears are, we are always going to have them. We're never going to be able to get completely rid of them. I actually heard a story that basically every single person that you see in the world putting themselves out there, whether you see someone that comes out with a new course or they're releasing a book or everything, everyone deals with fear. Specifically imposter syndrome. That's a big one among creatives especially, but everyone deals with this fear. So the people that put themselves out there do it scared. They do it anyway. They feel the fear and they do it anyway. So you're never going to get rid of fear. You can work on it, and actually the way you work on fear is doing it scared anyway, and then it's not as scary, and then the next time you do it's easier. So I'm preaching myself here too, because it's easy to let the fear win, but don't let it win. Do it scared. Do the things you are called to do. And this deals with procrastination, because a lot of times why we're procrastinating is because we are scared. So don't give up. Keep going. And honestly, action is the enemy of procrastination. So take action, whether sometimes it's just, if you feel like I have my writing shirt on today. It kind of came into the thing, right? Without fear, edit without mercy. Yes. Okay. Anyway, so if you are working on your book and it's just really scary and you can't seem to break through, why do I have writer's block? Whatever, start journaling, start freeform writing, whatever words. Just start typing. Sometimes you just type nonsense. Sometimes for me, just the action of typing on my keyboard can start generating thoughts. Write something bad, just write. Just write. Does not matter what it is. It doesn't have to be your book. It can be nonfiction. It can be journaling. It can be free form. It can actually, for me, if I really got stuck, I might even pull up something on, like a piece of paper, something I wrote out, or a book, and just start typing, copying the book. The act of writing will beget more writing. So do it scared. Okay, so that was the third one, and we have a question. Do you have any advice? We have 2 more tips, so I'll get back to there. Do you have any advice for when you feel like giving up on the book you're working on? Oh, do I? Yes. That's the short answer. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to take a drink of water because it is just warm in here today. My goodness. Okay. We have the window open, which is probably why you hear a lot of noise because I live downtown. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So when you feel like giving up on the book you're working on, what is my advice? Okay. So there are several things at play. And there could be several things at play. First, and I've already kind of covered this, you need to be listening to your intuition. So when I am struggling to understand what I need to do or where I need to go or anything, I will meditate. I have like this 3-pronged approach. And for me, and I'm still working on it, so it's not perfect by any means, but you have to try things and figure out what works for you. So I will meditate. And as part of my meditation, if I'm really struggling to break through a limiting belief, I do some inner child work. So what that looks like for me, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I kind of got this idea from a meditation I sat through where they did kind of inner child work. But this is just what works for me. You have to figure out what works for you. But I basically picture myself as a child. And now for me, it's just I picture like the house I grew up in. And I will address what I feel like is holding me back. So for me, it's like, I have limiting belief. I feel like I'm not good enough. And I will picture myself and I have this one picture that I have of myself when I was young, like 8 years old or something. I don't know. And I'll picture myself in that outfit. Like I had a side ponytail and polka dot outfit. I'll picture myself in that outfit and I will give myself a hug and I will say, in my brain, visualize this. You are good enough. You sweet girl, you are good enough. There is nothing about you that's never been good enough. So act like it. Speak your truth, all of this. So I will say the things that I need to hear. And that really helps me kind of work through those blocks. So that's just kind of a bonus, not really specifically what you're talking about. But okay, so meditation, and then I will do some mantras. So I have a list of a ton of mantras that I've identified there are things I need to work on. So a lot of times when I go through my mantras, I have a note in my phone, I'll pull it up and I'll pick out the ones that happen to speak to me that day. I'll say them out loud or kind of under my breath, but so I can hear them. And the best way that mantras will work is so that you can feel them. So you start to feel that that's true for you. Now, it doesn't always work for me. It's very hard for me to do that. It might be easier for someone else, but that's how I do that. And then I am trying, at least recently I've started, to start my morning out reading a nonfiction book that will help me through whatever, to learn, gain knowledge, things like this. So that's how I kind of learn how to tap into my intuition. And the reason intuition is so important when you're talking about the book that you're working on is that my belief is that if you have a block on the book that you're working on, it is trying to tell you something. There is something that is holding you back, obviously. And it could be a number of things. It could be that you have limiting beliefs to work through, like we've talked about repeatedly today. There could be some things you need to work on. So explore that. So a lot of things that will help. It's helped a lot of people is to freeform journal or just journal your thoughts or whatever, to start journaling. Get out what you're trying to think of, and maybe you will work into, and it's not always like a quick fix. It's not always, I'm going to journal for 10 minutes and I'm going to figure it out, or even 5 minutes or 2 minutes. Sometimes this takes a couple of days to work through, or a couple of weeks. It's just, it's going to be, it's going to happen in its own timing. That's all I can tell you. There's no formula for it, which is frustrating for me because I have an INTJ, but I'm learning to trust that. But it could be that you have limiting beliefs that are holding you back. It could be that the book is not meant to be written right now. I have several manuscripts that I have started and not completed. I do intend to complete them. At some point in my life, but they are not meant for me right now. And because the books that I feel most connected to and that I write, they're the ones that I'm meant to write right now. That's my belief. So, and yes, it's a balance. All this goes back to balance, because there's a balance between pushing through and showing discipline and actually writing. There's also, I'm doing everything I can and the words are not coming. that is probably your intuition telling you there's something you need to look at. Maybe this isn't meant for you right now. So my suggestion would be, if you can't figure out what that is, if you can't figure out if it's just a limiting belief, but you need to keep going in this manuscript, if you can't figure out, maybe it's just a matter of discipline and you need to actually just sit down, set yourself a schedule, say, no, I am not going to scroll on Instagram. I am going to work on my book. Or it's just something else. It's just your intuition saying, hey, you need to set aside this manuscript and work on something else. Action always creates clarity. So like we said, procrastination, action is the enemy of procrastination. Also, action creates clarity. And I just, and an influencer I follow just talked about this the other day. So if you are unsure what to do, take action. If you feel like you have another story idea and you want to start working on that, there's nothing that says that you can only have one manuscript going at a time. Now, if you're on deadline, you have a publisher, that might be a different story and you might need to address it a little bit differently. But if you are just working on manuscripts and you're trying to, you will eventually publish them, but you don't have any deadlines specifically for those books, explore it. Allow your creative brain to flourish. You don't have to follow anyone's prescribed methods. Don't follow my methods. If they don't work for you, don't follow them. I share them so that you have an idea of what's worked for me. And my methods are always changing too. So what I tell you today may be different a month from now or 3 months from now based on what I do. But so really explore if you're stuck on your manuscript. If you want to give up on it, explore why. Explore whether it's a limiting belief or maybe just the manuscript is not meant for you right now. I started a book last year that I was really into and I was super excited about, and I still super excited about it. But I needed to learn lessons that need to go into that book before I can finish it. And because every book that I write, I'm learning lessons that go into the book. I just announced the title of my upcoming book today on my Instagram. It's called Honestly Always You, and I'm super excited about it. I'm hoping to release it this summer. That's my plan. I just want to finalize it before I finalize and announce the release date. I have a release date. But that book I wrote back in May of 2020 when I was in the middle of the quarantine. I needed kind of like an escape from everything going on in the world. It was crazy town, as you know, because you were probably there too. So I needed something light. I wrote it. It was 58,000 words. It took me 11 days. Basically, I cleared my schedule and wrote like crazy. And then since then, in the past couple of months, I've added almost 10,000 words. Actually, I think in the last couple of months, I added like 7,000 words, and a couple months before, after I wrote it, I added 3. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I've added things that I am currently learning now that I could not have added back in May because those were not part of who I am. So your books will happen when they happen. Like I said, I wrote this book back in May of 2020. It won't be published until this summer, so over a year later. I wrote The Prophecy of the Codex, my latest release that I released back in October. I wrote that, I think I finished it January of 2019, and I didn't release it until October of last year. So there are a lot of different ways to approach a book. And some authors write a book and they edit it, release it, get it out right away. And that's great. If that works for you, great. What works for you will not work for someone else, and vice versa. So find out what works for you. Dig deep, try things, just experiment, have fun with it. And then you'll figure out eventually, as you write more, as you grow as a person, as you grow in your writing, you will discover what is aligned with you. And you probably will get better at discovering when you're getting stuck on a manuscript, whether it's a limiting belief you need to push through or work on and get past, or if it's just the manuscript as it isn't quite the right time for it. You'll figure it out. So I hope that, it's a very long-winded answer, but I hope it was helpful. Well, it's amazing. Props to you. I'm barely at 6,000 words. Guess what? There was a time when I was at just 6,000 words. All of us have been there. So do not think that you are behind the ball at all. You're exactly where you need to be. Everyone is exactly where they need to be right now with their writing. You will get better if you keep working at it and you keep writing. And you'll have more words if you keep writing. So I hope that was helpful, Denise. I thank you so much for your question. That was a fun one to explore and talk about. Okay, so we have 2 more mindset tips. The 4th one is remember your why. Why are you writing your book? Are you writing for yourself? Are you writing because you want to prove yourself you can do it? Have you always dreamed of writing a book? Are you writing so that you can write the next great American novel? Are you writing because you want to see your words eventually in a movie? Maybe you want to eventually do that. There are so many reasons why we write our books. So remember your why. If you don't know what your why is, explore that, discover what it is, and then embrace it. Yeah. Remember your why. Okay. Because if you can tap into your why, and if you can remember the reason why you started in the first place, it gives you a more holistic view of why you're writing. It helps you remember the larger purpose for what you're doing. And it helps you with being more disciplined and actually showing up for yourself and writing your book. Okay, and number 5, eliminate perfectionism. Yeah, this is a hard one. So what I can tell you about this, and I wrote this down so that I don't forget, but I'm just going to tell you, your book will never be perfect. Just going to put that out there. Your book is never going to be perfect. If you are caught in this trap of perfectionism and always wanting to and waiting to share your knowledge or waiting to, sometimes you are so afraid of not being perfect that you don't even write. Your first draft is supposed to be terrible. It's not supposed to be perfect at all. But also, your 47th draft is not supposed to be perfect either. Every book out there has something that can be improved. Every book. I know. Probably, there may be a few exceptions. Probably some of Stephen King's books. Anyway, but there are always things that can be improved. Sometimes we miss over a typo that we've looked over 20,000 times and can't figure out why we still missed it. But your book's never going to be perfect. So let that be freeing for you. Let that just take a sigh, breathe. Yay, my book's never going to be perfect. I can make it excellent. I can make it good, but it's never going to be perfect. So you don't need to strive for perfect. Strive for good. Strive for aligned, something that feels good to you. Strive for doing something that you can be proud of. That's a creative expression of you and your truest self. Because when you show up with your creativity and you abandon perfectionism and you don't demand to be perfect, like you can see me, I've got like a blotch here and my hair is kind of crazy and it's really warm in here. Nothing about this is perfect. That's why I love doing these lives, because I can, I have my notes. I chat with you guys. We learn from each other. And it's a lot of fun because people want to see real. They want to see authenticity. They want to know you're genuine. And this is probably a marketing tip as well. But so no matter where you are in your writing journey, whether you're working on your first draft of your first book, or you've written several books and you're working on marketing, there are a lot of fears to work through. Like one of my biggest ones is fear of being seen. And I've been working on that for a while. And so I've worked on it and hopefully gotten past it. But of course, progress is not always straight up or even up and to the right. Sometimes it's very jagged, and that's okay. I do have my days, but everyone does. And that's the thing. You can't expect perfection from yourself. You can't expect perfection from your writing, from your books, from your marketing. Nothing's going to be perfect. So give yourself some grace, allow yourself to breathe and be creative and explore and just have fun, because there's no point in doing this whole writing thing if you're not having fun. There's really no point to this life if you're not having fun. Like, you really need to enjoy what you have and what you've been given. And as writers, we are so creative and there's so much we have to offer the world. And I'll give you a little bonus, not really a tip or something, but my husband and I were just discussing this a few hours ago because we saw someone was, they were talking about like writing, and there was I think it was a quote. That was what it was. There was a quote I saw. And I had heard the concept before from a lot of different people. But for whatever reason, that quote like stuck in my head. And I'm like, this is my new mantra. But I'd heard it a bunch of times before. So it is not about necessarily, it's not necessarily about what you say or even how you say it. Sometimes you can say the exact same thing 50 different times, and the 50th time, a person maybe had seen it all the 50 times, but they probably did not. But say, for example, I tell you, and I love to talk about show versus tell. So say, for example, I tell you showing is better than telling, and I explain why. And then the next time I say showing is better than telling, and I explain why. I might say it a little bit differently. I might say it, tweak it a little bit. I might do it in the context of something else. But sometimes a person needs to be in the right frame of mind. They might need to have heard it from multiple people. They might need to hear it from you. You have a unique way of looking at the world, of sharing your content, of writing, of all of that. Doesn't matter if you are writing a very similar book to whatever other book is out there, fill in the blank. You have a unique way of viewing the world, of sharing your art, and of creating. So the world needs your art. The world needs your art. The world needs you to show up as yourself, as your authentic self. And that's why mindset is so important. That's why I like to talk about it, because if you're showing up as your authentic self, you are going to say something that maybe someone has heard 1,000 times before, but maybe they need you to say it so that they can understand it. Maybe the way you uniquely present it is the way that they understand. Maybe the way that just your wording is just what kind of gets them. Maybe you've already said it 50 million times, and for whatever reason, that day they are primed to hear it and it hits them in just the right way. So please share your art, write your books, share all of your wonderful creative uniqueness, because the world needs it. Okay. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Anyway, all right. So I did say, I mentioned earlier, but I will also mention for anyone that has joined since then, I have a writer affirmations ebook. It helps walk you through different writer affirmations that you can say. They're also called mantras. Affirmations and mantras kind of interchangeable. So it'll help you. It gives you some writer affirmations. It walks you through the process of creating them yourself so that you can figure out which ones speak to you and then how to use them to reprogram your brain. Because we all have limiting beliefs and we all have things that we need to work through. So link is in my bio on Instagram, and it's in the description of Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching the replay on IGTV, it is down there below too. So, all right, I have a quick comment before. We need a live about character development. I believe that I just did, I think I did a live about that a few weeks ago. So if I did, I will share that in my stories on IGTV. If not, I will definitely put that up, because character development is so fun. Yeah. And I think I have a YouTube video on creating realistic characters too. So I will talk about those some in my stories. So we can cover that. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure I have one about characters on YouTube. So check those out if you're interested. But yes, I will put that up there again, because characters are so much fun to talk about, especially in the context of show versus tell, and just learning how to get the reader to connect with your characters, because it's so much fun. Yes, I love talking about characters. So we will definitely do that in the future, and I will link to the ones that I've already done if I can find them. Like I said, don't know for sure, but I will check it out. All right, so we are almost at a half an hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the questions and the comments. I love chatting with you guys. I do these every Tuesday at 3 o'clock on various tips that help writers, various subjects. Like I said, I think I talked about characters. I've talked about show versus tell a few times, which I will keep talking about because I love it, love it, love it. And we've talked about all sorts of things, writing intuitively. We talked about that earlier in this live. So check out the IGTV replays. They're on YouTube and Facebook as well. And I will chat with you guys next week. I am so excited that you joined me. And like I said, I did recently announce my upcoming book. I hope to release it this summer. It's called Honestly Always You. I hope you'll check that out. You can get some more information on my recent post on Instagram. I believe it's on Facebook as well. And it's also in my email if you're on my email list. So check that out, and you'll be hearing more about that soon. All right. Thank you so much, Denise. I really appreciate it. And we will talk to y'all soon. Bye, Facebook and YouTube.